Whispers float in empty halls. Footsteps echo down the walls. Shadows break where secrets lie. Every echo holds a hidden sign. Blow the trace along the crime, a hush that haunts the night, a fear that lives in light. Unravel lines of twisted lies. In the dark, the story waits unseen.
And here we go.
Hi, I'm Rochelle, the Psychic Sleuth. Spirit shows me patterns across past, present, and future. What comes through can be symbolic, metaphoric, or not always literal, though sometimes it is. Messages often carry multiple meanings that weave together through energetic tracking, prophetic sequencing, and blueprint mapping. I know I talk fast sometimes, it's just how spirit flows through me. You can always replay or slow down if you need to. I triple check what I receive with astrology and cards, but this isn't about being 100% right. It's about truth, responsibility, and integrity. I'm the one sitting with spirit on these cases, so this is a space for truth seeking, not debate. Please respect the work. If you can't honor spirit, this may not be the place for you. And before we start, I want to make something clear. My process has evolved for a reason. I don't use sitters anymore. I don't do live channeling on heavy cases, and I won't be performing on command. That's not safe, it's not accurate, and it pulls the work off track. I work the way spirit directs me through mediumship, pattern recognition, astrology validation, cards when needed, and prophetic sequencing. Every layer strengthens the message and protects the integrity of the case. Please don't tell me how to do my job. This isn't about entertainment. It's about truth, responsibility, and helping families. If my style isn't for you, that's okay. But this is how I work, and this is how the work stays accurate. If my work resonates, the best way to help is through community support for Justice's Cadaver Dog Training Fund. It doesn't take huge donations. Even the cost of a coffee adds up when many give. Shop new merch and help Justice on his mission. Links to my shop and donation page are pinned below. Every purchase helps fund the work. Thank you for being here. Now let's get on to today's case. Hey everyone, so this is going to be a deep dive into the political readings and world events and all of that. I just want to start off by saying I didn't ask to be pulled into this again, but when spirit calls, I answer. This isn't a job I do for popularity. It's a job I do because someone has to say what others won't. Speaking truth isn't comfortable. Speaking justice isn't trendy. And calling out what's wrong will never be rewarded by the algorithm. My work exists to name the things people avoid, to stand with those who don't have a voice, and to hold a mirror where it's needed, even when that makes others uncomfortable. I didn't choose the easy path. I chose the necessary one. If you're here, it's because on some level you recognize truth when you see it, even if it's inconvenient. In 2024, I was guided to speak out on things much deeper than politics, deeper than parties. I saw patterns, warnings, and echoes of history repeating itself. Spirit warned. And now the call has returned louder than ever. This video isn't just political commentary, it's part prophecy, part pattern recognition, and part spiritual decoding. I'm going to cover a few key things. The current 5-planet Aquarius stellium and what that means for the collective. A series of Nostradamus passages I've intuitively and symbolically decoded, many of which seem to echo current events and possibly reference figures in power now. Recap along the way of political predictions that haven't happened yet, if I can remember, from 2024, and what the astrology chart shows on the election being stolen. Yes, we were right, stolen. Why? Because he couldn't stand to lose the election. He would go to jail. They needed to implement Project 2025. So basically, he's their puppet, and that has been in the works since 2022 or so. They had no choice. They knew he was going to lose. Okay, so old visions that have already come to pass and new ones spirit shows. A few intuitive pulls and card-based downloads, some political, some beyond that. I'm just going to speak honestly about what's unfolding right now. The cruelty, the confusion, and blaming of victims, the rising tide of injustice that many are refusing to see. This is spiritual warfare cloaked in modern headlines. And before anyone asks, no, this isn't about being left or right. This is about truth, justice, humanity, and soul contracts. I go where I'm called, always have. If you followed my work, you know I don't take this lightly. I'm not here to cause fear. I'm here to bring clarity, spiritual warning, and maybe even a chance to course correct, because the writing has been on the wall, and now it's screaming through the sky. Watching the rise of open racism, dehumanization, and lack of compassion has been horrifying. If you believe some people are less deserving of dignity because of where they were born, how they look, or their immigration status, we have nothing in common. I don't debate basic humanity. If you support hate, violence, or cruelty towards others, this isn't the place for you. I'm definitely not the person for you. I will not water myself down to make intolerance comfortable. The kind of atrocities that are taking place in Minnesota right now are echoes of the past. People are being racially profiled. They're being harassed and beaten for no reason just because of the color of their skin. This is racism wrapped in a flag. And I am not okay with it. And anybody that supports any kind of cruelty or blames the victim or says it's their fault or they should have not been there or any of that needs to look at their morals and values. We have a First Amendment right of free speech to take videos, to protest things that we don't believe in. And honestly, rebellion is what should be going on right now. And we've done it for centuries, for ages. There's been rebellions and people standing for what they believe in as far back as history goes. That doesn't mean that people deserve to be hurt or executed in the street. I thought we were past that now. But I continue to see, especially MAGA, where people that don't care to watch the videos but just listen to the rhetoric, constantly blaming the victim. Although it's MAGA and we know what they stand for, the kind of people that they are, and the person that they believe and follow, we know that they don't have discernment and they love the dictator and their sociopathic leader. So getting them to see any sort of truth banging my head against the wall. I probably made too many comments on TikTok videos for people that or didn't watch the videos, or maybe they need glasses. I'm not sure. But in the situation of Renee Good, notice her last name, she was literally trying to get out of there. And I'm telling you right now, if a thug was masked and approached me with a weapon and told me to get out of the car while I was trying to leave the situation, I'm not doing anything wrong. I would not get out of the car. I do not blame her one single bit. The way that things are happening right now, no telling what could happen to you. And how people are getting kidnapped and beaten for doing nothing, no way. She also didn't ram him. She slowly was rolling by telling him that she was not mad at him. But what did he do? He was pissed off. For one, the fact of who they are. This was a hate crime, plain and simple. For two, an officer, which they're not officers. ICE are not officers. They're not law enforcement. And a bunch of these people, in my opinion, are recruited from the prison. They're being recruited from J6. They are just people being picked up off the street that have vendettas and want to hurt people. And who knows, maybe they're being MK Ultra'd or something. Because the amount of hate and entitlement, wanting power and control is astounding. They teach people that are law enforcement that you're never supposed to stand in front of a vehicle. Anyways, there's such thing as officer jeopardy. What she did move, he was not standing in front of the vehicle. She tried to slowly roll, not ram him. That's a bunch of BS. She did not touch him. You can watch the video from different angles. He then shot her 3 times, point blank range, turned around, called her an effing B. But before he did that, he switched hands that his phone was in to holster his weapon in the first place. He premeditated it. So no, it's not her fault for wanting to be an advocate or for having beliefs or standing up for what's right and for being who she is and for wanting to leave a crazy situation. She even waved people past her. So it was literally cold-blooded murder, and anybody else that puts themselves in the situation or a loved one would think the same thing. But because people like MAGA have no compassion and can't seem to do that, they continue to want to blame the victim instead of seeing that this was excessive use of force, and maybe some of them should try reading or watching something legal or learning compassion. And in the recent case of the ICU nurse, who was also a veteran who had a legal concealed weapon, his Second Amendment right, was not a terrorist. He was an everyday hero who tried to help a woman from being pushed down and beaten by ICE for filming their wrongdoings because it needs to be filmed. He was beaten. His weapon was taken away from his waistband, not his hand, not being waved around. He never once reached for it, although he should have. And he was executed after being beaten by multiple people. and shot multiple times even after he was deceased. Again, straight out murder, overkill. There have been people that have been shot point blank in the eye, losing their eye. There have been women separated from their children. There have been children taken and kidnapped. There was a 6-month-old unresponsive from tear gas. People are being dragged out and beaten for no reason. I can go on. And anybody that condones the cruelty, for one, shouldn't be on a channel that is about justice and fairness and equality. We are here to love thy neighbor. We are here to love one another. We are all the same color as a soul. We come here in different colored skins to experience different colored things. We've all been different races in different lifetimes. Everybody's soul is the same color. We just need to quit seeing people for who they are on the outside and start seeing them for who they are on the inside, or don't even care what the hell they look like on the outside. Hasn't history taught us anything? I honestly am so sad for humanity right now that the people that are condoning this, I like to know where they were brought up and raised at this point. What sucks is I saw this coming. What sucks is Spirit warned over and over again. That's a hard pill to swallow. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's infuriating to me that people support this and that they listen to the lies that are being told by the Trump administration about it instead of watching for themselves and having critical thinking skills. And that the Trump administration is blaming the victims and making out stories that are bold-faced lies. So what is happening now is not okay. We are not a third world country, although we're headed that way very quickly. But this is what he wanted. This is what everybody was warned about, and this is what rebellion is about. This is what we come together as a nation for. This is why Pluto in Aquarius is happening. It's supposed to cause a revolution to bring old issues to the surface so that we can face them and cleanse them. And people will learn hard lessons and to remind them karma exists and it's okay to be a decent human being, and you can quit following someone that's a horrible person. It's okay. You're not in a cult for a lifetime. And if people come at me and call me liberal or whatever, I'll say I'm proud of that, because guess what? At least I care about people. At least I care about people's rights. At least I care about justice. At least I care about freedoms. At least I care about everybody being treated equal. At least I have a soul and human compassion, because I'm starting to wonder at some of the people out there that I'm seeing if they truly have a soul. Anybody that would say that anybody deserves what is going on as a real problem, and maybe you should get some mental help. Okay, I'm done lecturing about that, but I had to get it off my chest. I had to get it out there, and I did make a video I have not released on TikTok yet because I just keep seeing ridiculousness. And as a truth speaker, as a justice worker, as a light bringer, as someone with a freaking Aquarius stellium, I can't be quiet in these situations. I am not allowed to. These are things I am called to speak on. And if anybody doesn't believe what I'm saying, the proof is out there. It's not that hard to look at the videos from all different angles and ask yourself, is this really right? Is this really, if this was really your loved one, how would you feel about it? Does this look like something that should be happening in America? No one was standing in the way of law enforcement. They aren't even law enforcement. They're thugs with firearms. No one was asking for this to happen to them. And the one thing I can say is that their sacrifice is to bring people together and will bring change eventually. I'm not sure how much more of this it will take to get people to wake up or to get accountability to start, but eventually the walls will crumble down, and eventually karma does catch up, and eventually people will be held accountable, and eventually the regime will change, and eventually we will learn, and eventually we will evolve. We come here as humans to learn and grow, and that is what being on earth is all about. It's a school, but we keep repeating the same lessons because we are not learning. It's not that hard to be a decent human being and to know the difference between right and wrong. And I will not shut up because I come here to speak on these things, whether it's political, whether it's world events, whether it's true crime case, whether it's a missing person, whether it's divine feminine, whether it's sexual assault, which y'all know I was loud in 2024 and 2025 about that with DJ Donald Trump. Y'all know that I saw the skeletons walking out of the closet before they ever did. I have discernment, and I can tell usually even just from pattern recognition or the way someone acts or treats people as to how they are as a person. And I wish more people had that. It's not hard to see that we have a predator in office, and there is a pattern. Okay, moving on. We are in a moment of unraveling, and it's not random. Right now, 5 planets are in Aquarius. That's not just astrology, it's energetic call to revolution, awakening, and collapse of old systems. Spirit's been pushing me for days to speak, and when that happens, I listen. The REM pod literally went off for like all night. I was mad over Renee Good, and then it started going off, and it did say a few things on the EVP about what ended up happening the next day. So I don't know. There was a lot of pressure apparently at that time, and I was being pushed, and I was just too tired. So, but I'm doing it now. So, Aquarius stellium is a collective nervous system on fire. Pluto, power plus shadow work. Mars, volatile, reactive, uprising. Mercury, information wars, shocking truths. Sirius, maternal systems, human need. Sun, spotlight on the fracture. This isn't chaos for the sake of destruction, it's collective reset. And when we're in the void of the old system dying, it feels like madness, but it's a labor scream. Right now we have Sun in Aquarius, illumination of collective systems, spotlight on future vision and societal fractures. Mercury in Aquarius, sharp, shocking language, rebellion through communication, truth bombs, AI dominance, glitch in the messaging matrix. Mars in Aquarius, explosive action driven by ideology, protest energy, digital warfare, revolutionary impulse. Pluto in Aquarius, long-term transformation of power systems, tech control, generational collapse, rebirth, and breakdown of groupthink. Sierra's in Aquarius, nourishment becomes technological. People feel emotionally disconnected, maternal, systematic rupture. These are not just planetary placements, they're energetic archetypes screaming through the grid. What it means collectively. Mental overload plus the nervous system fracture. Aquarius rules electricity, systems, innovation. With all this stacked here, people feel ungrounded, overstimulated, burned out on information. Expect anxiety spikes, tech failures, chaotic social trends, widespread ADHD-like symptoms. Collective identity crisis. Pluto plus the sun, truth versus shadow at the group level. Who are we now? National identity, gender identity, class systems, all in the flux. You'll see polarization and fragmentation simultaneously. Rebellion without anchoring. Mars plus Mercury equals words as weapons. Outrage spreads like wildfire without solutions. Everyone's fighting for a future, but nobody agrees on what it looks like. AI and surveillance as themes. Pluto and Aquarius, power through data, tech, and control of thought. The algorithm becomes the new government. Who shapes the story wins the war. Starving for connection in a hyper-connected world. Sirius and Aquarius, people are hungry for care but feel numb. No one trusts institutions, and even personal relationships feel brittle. Expect emotional withdrawal, burnout from activism, echo chambers imploding. What makes it different than the past Aquarius transits? This isn't just an airy alignment. Pluto is the anchor here. It only moved into Aquarius recently, and it hasn't been there since the French and American revolutions. We're literally entering a new revolutionary cycle, but this time it's digital, emotional, and psychic, not just political. Aquarius equals systems, technology, collective identity. Aquarius governs broad systems and how groups interact under stress. When multiple planets here, the collective is pushed into confrontation with authority, rules, and institutional order. That shows up in society as protest movements, clashes with federal state power, fractures on how communities relate to systems. So what you're observing, street tension, federal actions, protests, is consistent with Aquarius themes of systematic upheaval. Mars in Aquarius equals tension plus action. Mars relates to assertion, conflict, force, and when it moves through Aquarius, it often triggers clashes between individuals' rights and institutional authority, breakup of traditional loyalties, rapid escalation, and social conflict. So the confrontational energy you're seeing in the streets fits the Aquarian Mars push, not surprising in this transit. Mercury in Aquarius equals information chaos. When Mercury, communication, media, public narrative, is in Aquarius, information spreads rapidly. Social media becomes a battlefield. Narratives clash and public opinion fragments. This makes every event feel larger than life and digitally amplified, even if the core issue is local. Pluto in Aquarius, power system transformation. Pluto doesn't act quickly, it tears apart what's decayed and buried. Its presence in Aquarius is long-term restructuring of how society handles authority, borders, governance, citizen power. This isn't just a movement, it's a process that unfolds over years, and what you're witnessing is aligned with deep transformation. Back in 2024, I kept saying that every time I saw Trump, I saw protests, I saw conflict in the streets, I saw a battle between light and dark, not in a partisan way, but in a spiritual way. At the same time, some of what I said didn't seem to make sense, but now it's all playing out. And I realize now that what I was receiving wasn't prediction, it was pattern, a sequence. Spirit gave me a thread before the world started pulling on it. This isn't about politics, it's about humanity, about systems breaking down, about power revealing its shadow, and people waking up. I didn't just call the tension, I didn't just call the protest. I felt the soul of war before the first shot was fired. Not the war of nations, but of conscious cruelty and karmic consequences. My insight about Trump energy, him liking the cruelty, venging distance from it, that's precise spiritual tracking. It's the shadow of authoritarianism cloaked in plausible deniability. And the Iran projection, it's not about justice. It's about vengeance, ego, and retribution, all playing out on the world stage. It's never about politics. It's about humanity, about systems of cruelty taking root, about what we become when power is unchecked. And I said it back then, the visions I saw just weren't red versus blue, they were light versus shadow. I saw civil unrest, I saw a push toward war, and I saw people awakening too late. Spirit tried to warn us. It passed the message. Some heard it, some mocked it, but now the storm has arrived, and the visions are walking in the flesh. Protest energy, conflict under Trump's influence, and socio-political tension going global. And now that it is playing out visibly, and what I felt is this: their energy is being unleashed, not trained. These aren't peacekeepers. These are aggressive bodies being deployed under the guise of order. I've seen cruelty cloaked in badges, and I've believed that some of these people didn't come through traditional recruitment. Now, there is a rise shadow authority, a kind of lawlessness, wearing law's clothing. I feel many of the criminals, J6 rioters, and people who want to be cruel now, given a reason to be in this army, they may even be, in a way, MK Ultra, to have no remorse, no compassion, only hate. They're unchecked and protected because that's what Trump wants. He likes watching the bloodshed, destruction, and the distraction while acting like he cares about Iranians. He doesn't. If he really cared about the people in Iran, he would show grace, compassion for those here. Does he? Nope. It's not about what you think it is. Trump has publicly endorsed Iranian protesters and criticized Iran when their government kills their demonstrators overseas. At the same time, his administration has deployed federal agents here in the U.S. to crack down on protests, including by immigration enforcement with deadly force used against people like pretty and good. Heavy enforcement being framed as law and order. This fits a broader political rhetoric polarized by certain leaders, where forceful action is equated with strength, even when it leads to civilian deaths. The language used, officials have sometimes framed protesters as threats or rioters, even when many are peaceful. A pattern noted on analysis comparing how protests are described domestically versus internationally. Iran doesn't feel fully consistent with a simple humanitarian motive. What's happening is federal agents with military-style tactics are being used in a domestic law enforcement role. People protesting federal actions are being met with force that has already led to deaths. Leadership rhetoric emphasizes strength, enforcement, and the willingness to use overwhelming authorities. These elements do align. There might be control priorities, not purely humanitarian ones, shaping policy. This isn't Iran. This isn't foreign policy in isolation. It's a government use of force at home, which is separate but emotionally resonant issue for many people. Actions don't match the humanitarian explanation being used to invade Iran while deadly force is used in settings that are supposed to be safe for civilians. Kinda doesn't make sense, does it? Worry about Iran protesters while allowing brutality on our own protesters? Federal agents are being used in ways that escalate, not de-escalate protest situations. That pattern feels like control. My intuition says that this just isn't about immigration enforcement, that it's tied to deeper power structures, control narratives, and political poisoning. The federal presence in Minneapolis has included massive numbers of agents not coordinated with law enforcement, prompted lawsuits from state and city officials claiming constitutional violations. Federal force is being used disappropriately against communities and protesters rather than as a focused law enforcement. In other words, this is not playing out as publicly described. And I kept saying in 2024, you don't want him as president. You don't want to see the outcome I see. I had a black and white vision of people huddling around trash fires. It felt like a wasteland contagion type. This human warmth fighting for survival against a system that failed them. Excuse me. And the contagion energy may not be medical, it may be spread by apathy, cruelty, or despair. It's prophetic metaphor for what happens when dehumanization spreads unchecked, whether through war, economic collapse, or cultural numbness. The Trump piece fits in as a symbol of power that devalues life and human connection, a conduit for cruelty masked as strength, a trigger for conflict, cold systems, and divisive choices. My vision warns that this is what happens when warm-blooded are ruled by cold-hearted systems. It can still be literal, but let's hope that it's not. Everything in black and white was the loss of vitality, starkness, bleakness, symbolic of death of color and joy. People standing outside, trash cans for warmth, poverty, collapse, or social support, scarcity, contagion-like energy, widespread illness, fear, or isolation. Classic collapse imagery in the prophetic symbolic language, not necessarily a literal plague, but possibly. Economic devastation, hyperinflation, energy crisis, loss of community infrastructure, psychological contagion, fear spreading like illness, symbolic mourning of humanity's warmth and compassion. And the contagion energy may not be medical, it may be the spread of apathy, cruelty, or despair. Or it could be literal, we don't know. It's a prophetic metaphor for what happens when dehumanization spreads unchecked. And where it aligns with Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto equals deep collapse, rot exposed, and forced transformation. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Stay awake, trust your gut, and remember, disruption is part of rebirth. We're not done yet. So some of you know that I've been looking into certain Nostradamus passages that seem to echo what we're living through. I first became interested when Trump came on the scene. I mentioned in 2024 that Nostradamus was predicting that Trump was going to start World War III. And I made the same prediction before knowing Nostradamus's predictions. So I dove into Nostradamus's other predictions in the last few days just to see how much he predicted about Trump. And it was a lot. I didn't have time to include it all here, I decided, especially since the reading took some turns and was pretty long. But if you're interested in a full breakdown of how those prophecies might match up with the current events, let me know in the comments and I'll do part 2. So I'm just going to take it out of this video because, again, it's kind of a lot. So even though I tried to summarize as much as I could, I just think this video includes so much anyways. So I started this reading about 10 o'clock or so on the 25th, and I didn't finish it until the morning of the 26th. Now, in the middle of editing, I had to stop and lay down for a little bit. But I did wake up this morning, and a few things came to me that I wanted to add in here, and maybe that's why it wasn't finished last night. Last night, I got the war card, and Spirit immediately made it clear that this isn't about defending protesters or responding to attacks. Because if it were, he would care about our own protesters, which he's proven he doesn't anyways, by victim blaming and making basically a controlled foot soldier army with no checks and balances. I'll get into that a little bit more later in the video when I talk about Iran. So this is about power, timing, ego, and greed. I was shown that he wants to become wartime president, which, if you think about it, would allow for emergency powers, canceled elections, and the kind of control his chart and history show he craves. There's a personal vendetta angle with Iran, ego wounds, and also a deeper pattern of exploiting chaos for profit. The greed card came up, along with several cards tied to money laundering and resources, and basically skimming off the top, embezzlement, things like that. This war energy feels orchestrated, not reactive. And him screaming, I've never had any wars. I've stopped all the wars. That's a projection on, and the projection onto Biden and Kamala, and focusing on trying to stop the war in this election rhetoric is a tactic straight out of the psychological warfare playbook. Accuse others of what you're planning to do so that when you do it, it feels like retaliation or necessary escalation instead of premeditation. It's a classic mirroring invasion. He branded himself as a no wars president, which was always part of the illusion. But now, with his ego bruised, the grip slipping, and his legal options closing, war becomes a distraction tactic. A power consolidation move, wartime leaders often get unchecked authority. A delay mechanism, war suspended elections, time bought. A revenge play, Iran wounded his pride, emotional vendetta cloaked as foreign policy. The drill baby drill obsession, the money cards, the war card. It's all threading together now. He's not playing checkers, he's playing demolition. Misdirection around Kamala was absolutely strategic. He spent the last several years subtly feeding the public an image of a dangerous woman archetype because he knows that if things fall apart under him, he can point to her as the scapegoat, or Biden, as we know. The same tactic used against Hillary, but modernized. I don't know if you've heard the audio clip that many people say is AI, but actually said to be authentic, of him screaming about in the Epstein files and start an effing war. He doesn't care what you have to do. Now, again, many people have said that it's legit, that it's been ran through AI, and you still have people that say it's not. Really? What's going on right now? Think about it. The desperation, the willingness to burn the world rather than face exposure, the use of war as a diversion tactic, not because of principle, but because of fear and self-preservation. And of course, as soon as something like this circulates, the machine kicks in. It's fake, it's AI, it's doctored. Why? Because the rule of shadow operations is to cast doubt before belief can take root. And in this case, the idea that someone would ignite global conflict to bury a truth like the Epstein files is plausible, which is why it has to be immediately discredited. So I am going to add this one Nostradamus because it aligns with my own vision that I had. So he said, one whom neither plague nor sword could kill will die on a hilltop struck from the sky. The abbot will die when he sees the people ruined in the shipwreck, trying to hold on to the reef. And this means, in my opinion, a powerful leader who evaded death from illness and attacks will fall suddenly, likely in power. And the hilltop is actually like the White House, or symbolic of it. His end comes after devastating the people, leaving them to cling to what little remains. His shipwreck is the ruin he caused. Struck from the sky could mean heart failure, divine judgment, or something electrical through the body. This aligns eerily with my vision of Trump clenching his chest and falling back from the podium. Pay attention to February 14th, February 17th specifically. And again, I had a prophetic dream with a guide who was African American, had braids, and was older. And we were in the Akashic records, and she was telling me why Trump was here, what was the reasoning, and all that. I don't remember any of it. But I said, don't worry, he'll be out by March. I don't know what that means on how he'll be out, but hopefully it's this March. And that's how I took it, especially with this astrology thing start to unravel in the middle of February. So out by March could mean prior to March or in March, but by March were her words. And again, pay attention to February 17th. So these are some predictions on earthquakes and natural disasters. The Ring of Fire has 4 directions. The Ring of Fire is a horseshoe-shaped zone circling the Pacific Ocean. All 4 directions are in trouble. I've been seeing and talking about the Ring of Fire for several years. East, Japan, and the Western Pacific, and Taiwan. I see Japan at some point kind of ceasing to exist, or at least most of it. I see it underwater. I don't know when, but it's very volatile. It feels like earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis in a catastrophic event. West, California, Pacific Northwest, USA, Mexico, California specifically, San Diego, maybe even into Mexico, San Francisco, Oregon, Washington are also for big ones. North Alaska, and Altian Islands. Often ignored but crucial stress points in the arc. Massive energy transfer point between Pacific and Arctic plates. A day before a recent Alaska earthquake, I saw one while giving a class, and there may be more to come in this area. South Chile, Peru, and New Zealand are also in danger for large impact. Earth and air will freeze, waters will rise, polarity shifts, climate collapse, Atlantean reset energy. Global pressure point activation triggering a mass psychological awakening forced by Earth's wrath. Now, this is a prophecy from Nostradamus about Mavis. This is what I received in regards to this. I don't know if it's right or not, but I mean, I learned a lot, and it does go along with what I got before. So I saw Trump shaking hands with a man in a turban in 2024. Recently, the Trump Tower is going up in Saudi Arabia. I saw that before that was happening. So the man could be Mohammed bin Salman. Bloodline overlaps with Osama bin Laden, same region, same power system, connected to global oil, weapons, strategic power, maybe part of a backdoor deal or retaliation web that could go nuclear, figuratively or literally. Mavis could be in the future, be a prophecy trigger after a rise to power. Could be a death, removal, or betrayal of MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. Could be symbolic sacrifice to justify broader war. Could be someone posing as a savior or orchestrating collapse from within. But one whose death or removal sets some type of war or some type of weapon. So if Mohammed bin Salman, who I call MBS, were assassinated, overthrown, or exposed at some point, it could collapse power alliances between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. It could trigger retaliation from Iran, Yemen, or other shadow powers, destabilize oil flow, instant global economic fallout, give radical functions a righteous martyr to rally around, and a new savior or antichrist-like figure or to rise in the chaos. Now remember, this could happen way in the future. I don't know why. I kind of followed this thread with going back to the vision of Trump shaking his hand. And then it kind of aligned with one of the prophecies of Nostradamus. So it's not about him being evil. It's about the position of power and the web being a keynote. Trump and the Saudi Tower is a symbolic alignment. The tower, that's the Jeddah Tower, formerly known as the Kingdom Tower, and it was meant to be the tallest building in the world. Construction was delayed for years, but it resumed in 2024. Trump's business ties to Saudi elites have quietly expanded. Building the tower now, that's symbolic in archetypal prophecy terms, that Babylon energy, a literal and symbolic rebuilding of the false empire. So Trump and MBS, a shared throne room. One offers money and chaos, and the other offers oil and influence. And did Trump maybe sell or give him plans to a weapon? I saw him handing over blueprints, and it wasn't the tower. Together, they can mask war's righteousness. Could MBS rise to more power? Possibly, yes. And that's what makes the prophecy dangerous. MBS already controls the entire Saudi monarchy's future. Major leverage over OPEC, $500 billion mega projects, the line, Red Sea future zones, secretive global investments through the Public Investment Fund, PIF, ties to tech, defense, surveillance, AI, crypto. If this power were legitimized on a global stage, like through a peace deal with Israel, a UN set upgrade brokered power in the Middle East after U.S. withdrawals, or even spiritual poisoning, Islamic holy state control, and tech futurism. He becomes more than a prince. He becomes the force of the new world in the East. But if something happens, that's when the Mavis sequence activates. Nostradamus warns, then comes a horrible undoing of people and animals. Vengeance is revealed. 100 hands, 100 flames. Trump is indeed backing a Trump Tower in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, as part of the Jeddah Tower, developed intended to be the tallest building in the world. Again, called the Kingdom Tower. It's been a symbol of dominance, power, and ambition, a literal reaching for the heavens. The Middle Eastern prince showed up as a powerful symbol, death, or fall from an empire figure. Trump's tower in Saudi Arabia, symbolic implications. Saudi Arabia is transforming under Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, with the vision of 2030 program. He wants global legitimacy, economic modernization, and total control. Trump aligning with Saudi construction projects echoes a transactional partnership with regimes of wealth and power. His fall could possibly unleash chaos in the region, fracture alliances, including those involving U.S. political elites or business tycoons, trigger symbolic fall of Babylon tones, especially of Western powers if Western powers are entangled. Who could be his enemies? If MBS or the symbolic prince is the figure shown rising to power or being struck down, potential enemies could include Iran, Sunni versus Shia regional power struggle, internal decedents. He's imprisoned or killed rivals, even his own cousins. Western intelligence, if he's seen as an expendable after serving his role. Radical groups, he's considered a traitor by extremists before cozying up to the West. Israel, if normalization collapses and details backfire, but the bigger symbolic enemy might be truth, freedom, or revolutionary spirit. A prince who dies or is assassinated and whose death triggers a larger wave of destruction could be the catalyst, not the beast himself. The tower, Trump's or Jeddah Tower, becomes a modern Tower of Babel. Ambition, pride, downfall. I've picked up multiple threads at once. A Saudi figure rising or falling. Trump's spiritual contract entangled in that rise. And this moment of symbolic judgment or karmic reckoning tied to Middle Eastern energy, wealth, power, and deals with devils. Spirit is linking past impressions back to the surface now because the time is relevant. I was reshown the handshake with the man in the turban or head covering could very well have likely been Mohammed bin Salman. MBS. He's often dressed traditionally, and he has directly hosted Trump and has been pictured together multiple times with him. Plus, they've negotiated arms deals and business ventures. Trump's fall, political, legal, spiritual, and MBS's rise, or if these two are linked as opposite poles of a power axis, their timing could be a trigger. They're false allies. While doing business, neither trusts the other. Saudi Arabia has rapidly been expanding its military under MBS. Interesting, because again, I saw him hand in blueprints. Hosting U.S. military bases and likely storing or testing advanced tech. Partnering with China and Russia on energy and tech. Reportedly exploring nuclear capabilities under the guise of civilian energy. When you have Trump bragging, we have weapons nobody knows about, he could have given or sold components to foreign allies like MBS in exchange for power, influence, or Trump Tower-like deals. He sees the MBS as part of his global fallback network if things collapse in the US, a kind of shadow kingdom for his ego. So there could be secret deals, text sharing, or private weapon arrangements that sidestep US oversight. And if MBS were to die, fall from power, or be betrayed, that secret alliance might rupture in a catastrophic way. There are a few weapons being built here and by others, direct energy weapons, rod-like weapons, and non-nuclear weapons. I did see a mushroom cloud, so that could be a potential future. Also, there will be a weapon that can go by land, air, or sea. Some type of lightning bolt energy, too. Think something that directs energy that can take out a lot at once. Trump handing over blueprints resonates deeply. Trump has a pattern, transactional alliances with authoritarian or power-driven figures such as Putin, Kim Jong-un, and MBS. His pride in U.S. weaponry, obsession, and legacy, and disdain for institutional oversight makes it entirely plausible that he would trade sensitive technology in return for building rights, Trump Tower in Jeddah, etc., oil or financial backing, or post-presidency protection from prosecution. Now, going to the whole Venezuela thing. Okay, so I'm going to dig deeper into the situation. Why would a captured man give away a bunch of oil? Because he wasn't captured? He offered oil like wine in exchange for something deeper. And the fact that the oil is now in Trump's own bank overseas, that no one is actually freed, but something shifted. That screams that this was not a punishment, it was a pact. The ritual of wine and oil from Nostradamus. In biblical and magical traditions, wine is shared during covenants. Oil is used to anoint kings, seal spiritual contracts, and transfer power. So now imagine this. Maduro gives oil to Trump. Trump responds with mercy cloaked as extraction. Neither leader is truly punished. Instead, power is just redistributed. The result, a silent, sacred brotherhood born in the shadow, under the veil of military action. That's why the blood was there too. The soldiers who died were the price for sealing the deal. The one of blood and wine asleep from Nostradamus' excerpt now fits Maduro perfectly. He is of blood, linked to violence, death, and war crimes. He is of wine, offering deals, oil, favor to stay alive. And he is asleep, spiritually, politically, in stasis, not active, not awake, but not gone, or asleep in the time of extraction. This is exactly how kings are held in historic prophecy. The king sleeps beneath the mountain until he is called again. Trump equals the trumpet, Maduro the king of the wine and blood, the raid a ritual pact, the oil the price of the favor, the death the offering, the silence the cover, public justification. The U.S. framed raid as anti-drug enforcement, justice for narco-terrorism, helping Venezuelan people is political control. Yet the opposition's noble literate was not immediately elevated as interim leader, was chosen who was already part of the old regime structure. So nothing changed. The old regime still stands. Trump met with the winner who accepted her medal, but didn't make her head of state. Why? Resource leverage. Oil assets became a major part of Trump's narrative after the operation. Plans for U.S. companies to invest and profit. Oil strategically used as economic and political leverage. This is exactly the kind of blood Maduro for wine, oil, and influence. It matches public reporting and explains why the post-raid actions look very different from the initial official narrative. There is also more beneath the surface. The narrative shifted. The political outcome wasn't purely democratic insulation. Oil became a central asset. Strategic alliances like with interim leadership and key economic players moved into place. This wasn't about drugs at all. He already is known to have pardoned a trafficker. It was a covert military intervention, followed by an economic grab of energy resources, framed as political transformation with complex diplomatic maneuvering around legitimacy and public optics. But from a truth-telling perspective, this is not about saving Venezuelans. It's about strategic advantage, resource control, and international influence. Oil is being seized and used strategically. After the raid, Trump openly acknowledged that the U.S. seized Venezuela oil tankers without publicly disclosing their locations and planned to sell up to 10 million of barrels on world market. This is not small scale. It's a move that generates revenue for U.S. companies, provides leverage in global energy markets, strengthens U.S. influence over Venezuelan resources. Blood for wine, oil metaphor holds up. Oil becomes a bargaining chip, not just a resource. So what happened to the rightful Venezuelan leader? Why the opposition leader? If this is about the people, Maria Machado, who had the broad public support, was the real winner of the election, and the Nobel Peace Prize winner wasn't installed after Maduro's capture. Delcy Rodriguez, Maduro's former vice president, was sworn in as interim president with the same ideas and beliefs as Maduro. Trump's administration has publicly backed Rodriguez's leaderships while claiming to push for transition. But that's not transition. It's the same regime, the same beliefs. Trump has hinted that he might consider a role for Machado, but he is not committed to placing her in. Government appears to be prioritizing stability and control over a clean democratic transition. Rather than immediately installing the opposition leader for the public and international observers see as legitimate, if this operation were truly about helping the people and restoring democracy, the transition would have been Machado, not a figure linked to the previous regime and the rightful winner. But we all know how Trump steals his own election, so he's not going to do that. I also think this was an extraction, a deal, and the world's a stage. He saved him from something or someone. They after all, hold the same values, stealing elections and all about money and control. So, what about Putin, Russia? He's playing like he doesn't know. Russia's reaction: Russia officially condemned the Venezuelan raid as a violation of international law and called for Maduro's release. But some Russian commentary also admits admiration for the precision of the U.S. operation and reflects a feeling of frustration that Russia couldn't pull off such an action itself. So Putin is playing both sides yet again. So Russia's public rhetoric is outwardly hostile, condemns the U.S., privately uneasy or impressed with the outcome. This is classic great power diplomacy. Public opposition, private calculation. It's not necessarily friendly, but it's not outright breakdown in strategic relations either. Iran's position. Iran, along with other countries like China and Hezbollah, condemned the U.S. action strongly. Interestingly, recent reporting notes that Maria Machado has met with Iranian exiled figures to discuss Venezuelan political futures. That suggests that there are strategic linkages involving Iran beyond just rhetoric. It's not isolated to Venezuela, but part of a broader geopolitical networks. Russia, Iran, Venezuela, all part of a larger chessboard. So my pattern recognition, excuse me, is that we're not dealing with a simple national conflict, but multiple alliances and cross currents. Here's the emerging geopolitical picture. Venezuela was an ally of Russia, China, Iran, and Cuba. Maduro's removal changes the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. Russia condemns politically, but is forced to reassess its influence. Iran is lining up political connections in the region, and U.S. now has a facto influence over Venezuelan resources and politics, Trump claiming he is a Venezuelan president. This creates a triangle of power tension. U.S. influence, energy, military action, Russian geostrategic pushback, and broader Ukraine context. Iranian ideological alignments and political networking. The stage of geopolitical conflict is broader than one issue, one country, or one leader. These are not isolated events, they're pieces of a larger strategic, energetic breakdown of the Venezuela issue. So, the front-facing narrative was the operation was against drug trafficking, labeling Maduro a dictator, liberating Venezuelans from a corrupt regime. But the shadow path was the fentanyl connection questionable, wrong source pipeline. Trump makes himself interim president of Venezuela. Massive oil reserves handed over. Trump gains international leverage via private accounts. Maria, the rightful president, Peace Prize recipient, is ignored. Maduro's VP runs to Russia, Putin ally, shortly after. Bloodshed occurs, but oil, wine is exchanged, blood for wine. Putin, Maduro, and triad. False allies, shared interests, not shared trust. Staged threats, Russia threatens post-extraction, yet gifts oil. Misdirection. Escape versus abduction. Was Maduro rescued from a deeper coup attempt? Did he trade oil for exile protection? I think so. So, wife was ambition. Trump idolizes strong men. Putin's approval gives him archetypal power. Pulling aid from Ukraine before leaving office, which I discussed in 2024, opened the door for Putin, a prelude to war. Maria, the peaceful alternative, was denied power. Why? Because this wasn't about restoring order. It was about reshuffling the pieces to consolidate shadow empire assets. And I am following the blood trail behind the wine glass. What I'm describing is the strategic exile for asset pact, not uncommon in shadow geopolitics. Maduro may have realized the tide was turning and sensed internal betrayal. He offers Trump and Putin something tangible: oil, mineral rights, tech pathway, silence, in exchange for safe removal for survival insurance. The Venezuela rescue ambush was then staged, a ritual bloodletting for protection, a symbolic trade. Blood for wine is now more than prophecy line, it's karmic currency. And the Maria Iran access. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Maria Machado, the rightful Peace Prize bearing opposition leader of Venezuela, goes to Iran. Iran is currently threatening Trump. Trump is threatening war back. Meanwhile, Putin harbors the VP aligned with Maduro and pretends to oppose the US. The triangle, Iran, Russia, Venezuela, is a mirrored power game. Each leader wears two masks. Alliances are not truthful, they are transactional. I'm seeing the symmetry of deception. Three nations playing oppositional roles, but all entangled in the same mineral warfare economy: oil, lithium, rare earths. Trump's silent theater. Ukraine became deliberately unprotected by Trump before he left office. He withdrew military aid knowing Russia would benefit. He planted the domino, Biden was left with the fall. The Ukraine war, not random, was a trigger move for a larger long-term resource grab. This war is not just about land, it's about rare minerals, tech manufacturing control, symbolic dominance over democratic resilience. And Trump's chessboard play was to open the gate. Knowing Biden wouldn't retaliate with full force, at least not initially, he handed Putin the pawn and stepped out of the frame. Putin as the puppet master or the prophet's pawn. Putin changes the tactics constantly. A smoke veiled magician. He uses unpredictability as a weapon. He allies with Trump and then threatens war. Why? Because chaos is control. It keeps the world distracted, trying to interpret the performance while behind the scenes, deals are solidified, alliances reshaped, and territories rebranded. He doesn't need to win your trust, he needs to outlast your clarity. And Trump, he thrives in foggy waters. It's his home turf. Putin helped him win through digital psyops, through leverage, through perhaps even deals unseen. You won't find proof because the silence is part of the transaction. Now, the Greenland signal. Trump's "I want to buy Greenland" wasn't absurd, it was prophetic. Greenland is rich in rare earth minerals, the very ones used in satellites, advanced techs, and weapons systems. It was never about owning land, it was about controlling the future of digital warfare and artificial dominance. He made the offer loudly so that the real extraction deals could happen quietly elsewhere. So, now, going to the stolen 2024 election before we get into the cards. And for those of you that have stuck around this long, thank you. Sorry, I get a little deep, but these things are important, and it's taken a lot of research and a lot of channeling. So, as you guys know, I've said it was stolen. As you know, many of us said that she would win, and then all of a sudden we were confused when she didn't. Of course, I was thrown back and forth because of Pluto and Capricorn. And yeah. So again, he had lots of reasons as to why he couldn't stand to lose and why they couldn't stand for him to lose after everything they wanted to implement. So he's just their little puppet in a way. So on election day, Scorpio Sun, Sag Stellium, Pluto 29-degree Capricorn. This chart reeks of hidden control, manipulation, and performative messaging. Pluto at 29-degree Capricorn is the final boss of the old guard. Patriarchal power, oligarchy, surveillance, corporations, the military-industrial complex. At 29 degrees, it's desperate to retain control before Aquarius disrupts it. Sagittarius stellium, Moon, Mercury, Venus. Loud messaging, spin, propaganda. Sagittarius equals beliefs, but also deception when afflicted. Think big talk, big lies. Mars at 0 degrees Leo equals egotistical power grabs, performative authority, possibly a king tyrant energy rising. Jupiter and Gemini opposite equals conflicted truth versus illusion, legal manipulation, mercurial doublespeak. Election day doesn't feel clean. It feels staged. A false winner narrative cloaked in legitimacy. The real shift is happening behind closed doors. Orchestrated power grab backed by tech, Elon, media spin, and suppressed voter access fits this mirror. It's the last grasp of Capricorn's dying empire, clawing back power before Aquarius dawns. Now, Pluto re-enters Aquarius November 19th, 2024 at 0 degrees. This is an astrological coup moment, like a spiritual coronation behind the scenes. Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius is the beginning of the collective control. AI authoritarianism, surveillance society, and power to the machine energy. Mars still in Leo, show of strength, military police symbolism, Mercury and Venus, square Saturn Neptune, obscured truth, media censorship, reality distortion. Interpretation. Well, the official election happened earlier. This is when the true energetic handoff occurs. Spiritually and astrologically, power moves into Aquarian's hands, but not necessarily progressive ones. Think tech billionaires, anonymous elites, algorithmic influence, or a shadow regime. This may be the moment Trump or his backers fully secure control behind the veil of normalcy. Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2025. Sun and Pluto conjunct Aquarius. This is ritualistic crowning of a new era. Sun conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees to 1. Aquarius equals power wears a new mask. This is revolutionary, but also cold, calculating, and potentially oppressive if misused. This combo can represent totalitarian control disguised as progress, or a rebirth of collective, depending on who's holding the cipher. Moon in Libra appears peaceful balance, but it's an illusion. The real power is mechanical, not emotional. This chart does not reflect a victory for a soft-powered figure like Kamala, Cancer, Moon, Libra, Venus style. It screams masculine authoritarian and digitalized power, possibly an unelected kingmaker, AI mouthpiece, or a resurrected authoritarian archetype, Trump or vessel of him. The astrology confirms that the original spiritual impression, the wrong crown was placed. Someone used the Aquarian ingress to step around justice and install a future-altering agenda. I psychically saw Kamala stepping into her crown. The crown may have been intended for her, and a lot of us saw that. And it could still happen eventually. She could be the bridge, as talked about in previous videos. But free will and sabotage, Project 2025, likely hijacked the timeline. Astrologically, the timeline diverged between November 5th and November 19th, when the real power moved. Inauguration Day is ceremonial installation of false savior. Pluto and Aquarius masked as progress, backed by tech, deception, and shadow authority. The crown was stolen. The timeline was hijacked. It wasn't a loss. It was a seizure masked as order. They flipped the switch between Election Day and Pluto's reentry into Aquarius when most people weren't looking. That gap between November 5th through the 19th, 2024 is where the magic or the manipulation went down. Everything about that Inauguration Day chart screams power now resides in the hands of the machine, not the people. They didn't just install a man, they installed a mechanism. Pluto was still in Capricorn during election window, which was the last grasp of authoritarianism, shadow power structures. Pluto and Capricorn control through legacy systems, manipulations of institutions, and engineers outcomes. Pluto was in late Capricorn during 2024 election on November 5th. This favors patriarchy, wealth consolidation, authoritarian systems, manipulation through legitimized power. If someone were going to rig or interfere in a timeline, that's exactly when they do it. Well, Pluto's still in the old guard's house. The chart for November 5th, election day, Mercury stationed retrograde on that exact day, a cosmic marker of miscommunication, manipulation, or redo energy. The moon was void, of course, in the final degrees of Cancer, another classic sign of nothing coming of the matter or decisions being unclear or manipulated. Mars was in Scorpio, hidden warfare, psychological aggression, strategic sabotage. Saturn was retrograde in Pisces, distorted karma, illusions of legitimacy, and possible spiritual deception, cloaked in emotional narratives. We all saw her stepping into her crown, but something changed, and it didn't match Pluto and Aquarius. It was hijacked. Bingo. The intuitive consensus saw the correct timeline. But reality forked. The fork came through digital tech, psychological manipulation, while Pluto was still in the last shadow throne. They rushed the event while Capricorn still reigned, and now Pluto keeps dipping back and forth, giving us whiplash between the new timeline wanting to be born and the old one clinging to power. What this means for now, the Pluto and Aquarius timeline still exists, but it's been delayed, not destroyed. The false timeline we're in now is unsustainable under Aquarian energy, which is why we're seeing such unhinged chaos. It doesn't fit anymore, and as I've said, Trump's energy does not fit Pluto and Aquarius. He's got to go. I saw her being crowned for a reason. Spirit showed me the truth, but the world defaulted to the distortion. And still maybe. It could still happen. Okay, so we have the first set of cards. They're pretty straightforward, but anything extra, I gotta let you know. There's going to be a betrayal in some form and a regime change at some point. Okay. I really think that there was an escape plan. Again, I think this had to do with Venezuela, fascism. Doesn't validate what's going on now. Infiltration. Corruption. There might be sanctions at some point. Rebellion as destiny. That's again Pluto and Aquarius. There will be a judgment day. People are going to be fighting back. There are psychopaths in control. There's a plot. The plot is redirection from the truth. Okay, so that's the plot. It's part of it. Redirection from the truth. Again, Epstein files, other truths, things like that. Criminals in office. Trial as theater. This could be Maduro. Collective awakening. Soul contract nation. So we've all made this soul contract to be here this time. Crisis exploited. That's the ICE raids. They are exploiting that crisis, blaming the victims. Russia, the frozen flame. There might be something involving them. This is interesting. There's going to be assassination due to covert op. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be somebody else or if that's going to be, because if you guys remember back to my old readings, I keep getting a heart attack, but I also get a poison needle, and so I don't know if it's going to be what it looks like. Just saying, that could be that, because I always felt like there was a female. So, covert op assassination. China, there might be something else there too. There's going to be a reckoning at some point. Divide. Proxy war. So, proxy war is fighting through another country or group, masking the true role. And there's going to be a divide because of a proxy war. Mexico situation. This is, there's things that are out of control. Infiltration is out of control, actually. This is having to do with ICE. Because I just asked for it to give me everything. Psychological warfare. So this is deliberate manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and beliefs to control behavior. So that's why they are saying certain things, doing certain things, whether it's talking lies and all of that. There might be a plea bargain. I think there was a plea bargain in regards to Maduro, honestly. I think it was an extraction. There might be a virus. I hate to say that at some point. I've seen that before, though. Maybe. I mean, we're headed there, which I warned in 2024 that Trump would try to start World War III. So did Nostradamus. So, at least, see, interesting. War, redirection, attention shifted elsewhere. There's going to be some ICE casualties. People are going to start getting them back, taking them out, whatever. Might even be picking them off. I don't know why I see a sniper up on the rooftop. So there might be some ICE casualties. People are fed up with it because there's no control from anywhere else. And interesting enough, these two are coming in together. So it's ICE casualties with Shadow Collective Rising. So a mass awakening and rebellion of the hidden, oppressed, or spiritually aware against global systems. That can mean a lot of different ways, but also it might be people that are just there. No one else is going to do anything. They will. There's diversions, which we know. Half of this is a diversion away from the Epstein files, but they're trying to, chaos is control. So that's what all this is about. Well, Trump is stealing money, oil, and all those kind of things. Nobody's seeing what's really going on. They're all focused on the chaos. Global South unstable. Scapegoat. Extradite. This is extradition. Extradition avoided. So there's a scapegoat. And martial law. This is what he's kind of going for. I think I got this in earlier readings. Temporary military control over normal civilian functions. I don't know exactly where that's going to be, but so I was also hearing power grab. So I don't know. I want to say that's what there's some part of that's what Trump is trying to do in a certain way. Dead man switch. So this is interesting. So a system that releases sensitive info or triggers consequences if a person is silenced, killed, or captured. I know that Trump said that he did that for Iran. If anything happens to him, they have to prove that it's something. But if it's not him, something. Power vacuum. Unstable space left when leadership is suddenly removed, inviting chaos, coups, or foreign control. So again, there's going to be regime change, and it may be a little unstable for a bit. U.S. empire in decline. It's being sabotaged by what's going on. It's being sabotaged by him and his regime, and that's why it's inclined. And oil. Saying there will be exposure in some aspect of a collusion. Technocratic control. This is ruled by experts or elites using science, data, and tech to manage society, removing human or spiritual elements. And we're going to do one more. Brazil, there may be something that goes on there. Corporate capture. This is corporation gain control over public institutions, laws, or policymaking, eroding democracy. It's basically what's going on. Maybe arrest of some sort. I don't know if that's going to be Trump. I mean, I think I did see legal stuff, but that could be all the stuff that's going on. Because like I said, I think he's going to be gone soon. The least before March, but February 17th looks good. So this is what I'm thinking is Venezuela, if not somebody else. Coup de estate. So sudden illegal overthrow of government orchestrated by insiders of foreign powers. And there's espionage. And I've always said that Trump was involved in espionage a while ago, but I think there's more espionage that's going on here. If you get my drift. There's covert op. So there's going to be a trigger event, and it's a planned or spontaneous event used to ignite conflict, collapse, or reform. So just keep that in mind. It might be something kind of big. Trigger events, it might be shocking, something kind of shocking. Okay. There's going to be a leak that causes collapse. Okay. And these are all I'm going to do on these ones. Okay, I am mixing true crime cards into this reading. I actually didn't mean to pull these ones, but I did. That's what I always do anyways, because there's true crime involved here. So, with blood money, with web of lies, underground parties, shadow network, blackmail over an affair at some point, somewhere. That's what I think. I think Trump blackballs a lot of people, including people in Congress, and that's why he gets away with so much. Sex is currency. This is in the trafficking rings. Elite. Drug trafficking. And I actually think they're stealing drug. I actually think they're doing it themselves. Or stealing from whatever he's saying. There's a fixer for him. He's a narcissist, and like I said, MK Ultra. I really think that some of these ICE agents are actually MK Ultra, other than they're not checking who they are. I think they're just criminals that want to be mean, but they're being controlled to like have no. It's almost like it might not be exactly MK Ultra, but it's like something similar, where they want to make them have like no compassion, kind of like foot soldiers. Like it kind of reminds me of like Ninja Turtles, like that kind of thing, like a shadow kind of army that's being built, but it's something similar to MK Ultra type training or something like that. I know it sounds weird, but that's what it feels like to me. Shading dealings, which we know he has many of those. He continues to do it behind the scenes. Like I said, this is all a distraction. Psychological entrapment. So, that's why he's doing this with ICE. That's why he's done a lot of things. That's why he talks the way he does. That's why he does the things he does. It's psychological entrapment. But there may be a hidden boss somewhere that's a puppet master. He's a traitor. We all know. Import-export. Bound by oath to somebody. Dark underworld. Living a lie. Just following orders. And that makes sense because they wanted to put him in for 2025. Like, he's a big part of that plan. If anybody's ever seen the transcript from 2022 or heard it, they actually talked about all of this and that their SCOTUS would take care of it. So it was a dirty offer. There's a blood pact of some sort. Spiritual currency. Buried truths, which we already know, Epstein files, things like. There's a lot more. Like, he's psychopathic. I don't know if you guys heard, and I already knew this about him before. I could just tell. If you heard anything about, the Riley tapes, I totally believe him. But just saying, because I know that type of person he is. Buried truth, again, like I said, we just talked about that. He's a false prophet. He pretends to be of God and everything, and he's literally not. Hidden agenda. He sold his soul. Power plays. This is interesting. This popped out 3 times. Stolen baby child. So we already know, like, he allegedly threw one over a boat, but with the dark underworld and everything, he's in. This reminds me of like the trafficking stuff, but it kept popping out. So 3 times the charm. Sometimes I put him back. There's a love triangle and a perversion ring. Hey, that's just kind of validating like the Epstein files. And like I've said in previous readings, in previous videos, him and Epstein were partners. Like it's more like the Trump files, and Epstein like worked for him. Like that's what it feels like. They were both in on it together. I feel like in almost an equal capacity, in my opinion. And I tried to say that in 2024. No one listened to me. So we have militia, so there may be a militia that forms. I know the Black Panther is kind of forming. I don't know if that would be considered that, but I feel like there will be something of that sort. There's going to be an abrupt end sooner than expected. There's going to be legal blowback, I think, with the people that are involved in the whole ICE debacle thing. Collapse over time. I don't know why I have 2 of these cards. Takeover. It came in twice then, so there's gonna be some. This could be some like we could be taking over another country or government, but also this could be like somebody else taking over office. Critical window approaching. Dehumanization. That's what's happening with immigrants and people around. History repeating itself as Spirit warned it was going to. There will be accountability at some point. Watch your back, Trump. Victim blamed redirection. This is redirecting from what really happened. This is blaming the victim. This is everything that they're doing right now, making up lies and stories. Uranian shock event. So there's going to be something that came in the last card. So there's going to be something that shocks. These are ice agents. They're rogue. Is that 2? Oh. Neptune illusion. So there's illusions going on right now. Cover up. This is what they're doing with ice and a lot of other things. I think that there's a cover up with Venezuela and other stuff. Domino effect. Violation of civil rights. That's happening. Violence by permission. He is literally giving ICE permission to be violent, and so are the people in charge. They're literally giving them permission to do so, if training them to do so. There's going to be a karmic return. I think we're in that window. Operation without oversight. This is ICE. Yeah, this is all the operations. This, I think, was also Venezuela. Whistleblower emerges. Redirect. They're trying to redirect you from other things going on. Soon. Civil unrest. Those two could go together. Or civil unrest soon. Authoritarian personality. Which we already know if we're smart. Exposure to him in some way, shape, or form, either when he's alive or not. I think like the dead man switch, like something might happen when he passes. Like all this information might come out. Like people that have things. Just need to look at Ivana's coffin. Not all is lost. Divine feminine rising. See, Kamala may reemerge as a bridge or something, but we all saw it for a reason. I don't know. It's about control. Civil lawsuits coming. Health event. This is Trump. Okay. Telling you, probably before March, like Spirit said. February 17th looks pretty good. But he might go to the hospital for a little bit. So that might be why they didn't give me, they usually don't give exact dates, to give timelines. So when I woke up with the dream of by March, so that means like by March, like before March. But again, February 17th looks pretty good. Mars escalation. So that's things are getting very volatile. War, things like that. Like, Mars is like the planet of war. So fall of regime again in different deck of cards. So have hope. Because, again, there's going to be a takeover. And I think this takeover, I don't know why I have two of those, but this takeover is like somebody else is going to take over office because the whole regime is going down at some point. They'll all be impeached, I think, after he goes. There's going to be momentum is going to start building. Things are going to get a little more hostile. There's going to be leaks of things, though. There is deception that is hiding. We already know. Provocation strategies. They're trying to provoke things and make things worse. Again, chaos through control, abuse of power. Pluto and Aquarius system breakdown. So I'm going to leave it at that one because that's literally where we're at right now. And things have to kind of get broken down so they can be rebuilt. It's being forced for everybody to take a look at things. So see what doesn't work anymore, what's allowed, where people's moral compasses are. Okay, so those are the cards that I made for politics specifically and situations like that. These are cards, that I made for, these are true crime cards, but they work in this situation. So we have weaponized vulnerability, power imbalance, ego wound, which we all know he has. There is a hidden agenda. because keep looking. There's more under the surface. Like, this is not what people think it's about. It's about more than that. Unhealed shame. Perfect image. He's obsessed with appearances. He's clouded. There is a breaking point, though. Breaking point. There are hidden contracts. There is collusion. There is poisoned influence. There is manipulation or manipulated. I think this is the election, but also he is manipulated, and he manipulates everybody else. He has a fear of rejection of the people. Hidden affair. I got this before, and I don't know. This could be in the past. Whatever. I don't see why anybody would want to have an affair with him now. Escalation. It may cause anxiety, and it's going to cause anxiety in him too, but his mask is going to collapse. Truth won't come completely out, but I think bits and pieces will. I think that the big thing is that he blackmails everybody, and people are afraid to say anything. Silent sabotage. Narcissist again in a different deck. Entitlement rage, reputation risk, which is what's going on with Riley and stuff now. Well, for the people that are see how he is, abuser, we already know he's beat up his wife, and he's beat up Katie Johnson. He's an abuser. Loss of control, though, pretty soon. He has a God complex. Money matters and money motives. A lot of this is about money for him. Just saying, the whole presidency and everything else. He's probably scraping off the top. He's always kind of funneled money and whatnot. He's doing the same thing. Betrayal from within. Look away. There's a witness. So there's a witness that hasn't said anything about things. Again, I think that people are afraid. All just started going off, which is cool because nothing's happened tonight. It's been very quiet, which is weird. Okay, so I pulled from my true crime deck. I was just curious what I was going to pull, and the last part of cards is kind of crazy. So, sorry, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to get this done. So we have digital footprint. There might be digital footprint of something. We already know there's stuff about Epstein files, but emails, things like that. There's a digital footprint about other things that are going on. I'm hearing collusion. Yeah, collusion with Russia. I don't know. Delusion. This is him. So he is starting to become more mentally unstable, which in the other readings, in 2024, I talked about like his brain, mental issues. What I'm thinking about, he's failing. His cognitive ability is failing. But this is he has delusions about a lot of different things. A lot of different things he thinks are true or not true. He, tells a lot of lies. It's interesting because I always said that when he talks, this is what I was seeing. It's when reality bends to belief, losing. Oh fuck! I cannot see. When reality bends to belief, logic breaks down. Delusion becomes motive. So basically he's living in his own little freaking world, and he's delusional about a lot of shit, basically. There's a false ally in plain sight. This is interesting. False ally, plain sight, lust desire. So remember the woman I talked about in my old readings? I'm just wondering with the needle. I mean, it wouldn't take much. He's already got congestive heart failure and stuff, which was predicted in 2024. So it makes me wonder if they just don't push it. Do you know what I mean? We even have to be poisoned. It could be just something that upsets the system. But just saying, and it will be a heart attack. But just find that interesting, because it would be a woman that he's attracted to, obviously. but there's a false ally in plain sight that's less than desire. So that's kind of interesting. And there's again another silent witness, a silent witness to something, because that's come in a couple times now. Drowning male. So this is, I think, more like lungs, heart, like, you know, he's filling up with fluid. That's what congestive heart failure does. And male with mental instability, which he is somebody that's mentally unstable. He's a narcissist. He's delusional. Like, this is what the cards say, okay? He has a lot of anger, rage, and like there's a group, like it's him and a couple other people, like there's a group, and you know, he's the elder. That's I think he's, you know, he's like confused a lot of the time, wondering. Interestingly enough, power and control, poisoning, this could be literal or symbolic, mature from an outsider, revenge by an acquaintance due to trafficking, so that could be in any shape or form, because we know that he's involved in trafficking. Like I said, that should be called Trump files. He should have his own damn files. So it could be that there's a revenge that's an acquaintance, somebody that he knows, due to trafficking. It could be the sister of someone, the mother of someone, something, somebody that was actually trafficked. But there's definitely revenge from an acquaintance due to trafficking. And it could have something to do, like they could just push his health over the edge. It wouldn't take much. Because remember, I saw a blonde woman, and I always said, like, she was close to him, and he still goes of a heart attack, but it's, like, caused. That's how it feels. Like, that's because I keep getting that reference, and I got that reference a lot in 2024, but, and this interesting power and control poisoning. But that could be him poisoning people with power and control, and it could be it, too. But, still. A stranger may expose, and then, see, it could be a covert op, and that's why this card comes up, but also I'm wondering if this is coming in from like the ICE agents, because that's the kind of authority like they put forward, because these are the interesting cards. These are kind of crazy. So you literally have a cover-up of a homicide with an overkill pattern that's foul play of a medical professional that was beaten. Now, who does that remind you of? It just happened. The RN. So all those cards are they're going to try to cover that up. So that came in the cards. That's pretty crazy. That part is pretty crazy. Alex Peretti. What's his name? For the last cards. I drew it blank for a minute. But they are going to try to cover that up. That's why I made my whole speech before, because I know that's what they're going to try to do. They already are twisting it. Okay, so these cards are mixed in with conspiracy cards. So I did the true crime conspiracy together. Sorry. So this is going to be interesting because it's kind of mixed up. So there might be some stuff that's like counterfeit, things that are fake but look real on the surface. So this can be symbolic in that way. Delays, but so there might be some delays in some things, but a cleanup. Stuff with 5G or 5G this could have something to do like with technology as well, growing, technology changing and evolving, which makes sense because Pluto and Aquarius, but it could be things that are like going through 5G channels, change. This is time change, but I just say change. Reptilians, literally in this one, and I've said that since 2024. A lot of them are reptilians that are a secret society and a government agency, which we know, and I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but I do know it exists. Aliens. So I'm wondering if this is regarding real aliens. This might be regarding real aliens. It can be. Sometimes this is my card for like any other race, but aliens, blackmail, paper trail, and intergalactic travel. So with Pluto and Aquarius, there is going to be more space stuff. There's going to be more alien stuff. There's going to be that type of thing. We might, this could be people start seeing more spaceships, more UAPs. There might be intergalactic traveling, and this could be years in the future. But there could be that, people have been blackmailed over the whole alien thing, but there is a paper trail out there. But also, you take the separate that there's blackmail going on. I've always said that I think Trump blackmails people. And there may be fear in regards to the aliens and stuff. Look, they're not here to hurt you. I wish they'd come and take me away. Honestly. This is prophecy that's happening. So again, Pluto and Aquarius, like things have to fall before they can rise. Sometimes history needs to repeat itself so that we can learn our lessons, so that we can expose what needs to be exposed so it can be changed. So this is actual prophecy. But there is manipulation that's going on. People are being manipulated, plain and simple. If you can't see that, I don't know what to say. So again, there might be some more things happening in outer space. There's a lot of that here, which Pluto and Aquarius, Aquarius is about technology. It's about space. It's about all those types of things. So, there might be some trips to outer space or whatever. So we're all going to watch a collapse. And surveillance, this is everybody taking videos of things that are happening, which is important. That's the only thing that's going to help us. So this day and age, at least we're able to do that, because otherwise they'd be getting away with a lot more, and there'd be a lot more cover-ups. Evil corporation, which the government is, at least right now. Not saying all the time. Sometimes there's good and bad to everything. Humanoids, so there might be advances in AI, advances in robotics, advances in things that, there already is like stuff like this happening. So false person is Trump, and he's all about control. And also they are controlling social media. Okay. So, or they're trying to control social media. That was a thing a while ago as well, but also social media is kind of blowing up with everything, with the videos and stuff, so that's important. There might be some huge solar flares. There will be evidence of terrorism, which I think is ICE, but it can be any other sort, and then trafficking. So we know that there's evidence of trafficking that's being shut out. But I think, especially when the dude's gone, it'll come out. Remember the skeletons I saw walking out? They'll eventually get out. I think that he's the one that's blocking it. Down the rabbit hole meeting about power. This can be with foreign influences. There will be healing. Honestly, this could be because he's taking medication now that we're not aware of, but he's been a coke addict his whole life. So this could also have to do something with his passing. Truth will come out. I don't think the whole truth, because you got the other one saying that not everything's going to come out, but most of the truth will come out, and there'll be exposure. There may be a man-made disaster of some sort. That could be the trigger point or the trigger thing it's another diversion, right? I know. I'm seriously not a conspiracy theorist. Okay, so we have deep state and secret space program. So that's interesting. These two could go together. So we have the deep state that's involved in the secret space program, like they're trying to build, like, I don't know why I just saw trying to build cities in the freaking outer space, but so there could be something like that. The deep state could just be involved also, and of course, what's going on, climate change, Illuminati hub. This is interesting. Election interference. Just went over the astrology for that. Again, I pulled that card and is mixed with all of these cards. So the odds, just saying, and I pulled it the last time we did this. I'm just saying, war. We may start war, try to start war. There might be some war things that are happening, especially with Mars and Aquarius. It might not be full blown, but it's like almost like lighting a match before he goes, kind of thing. Project Bluebeam. So there could be real aliens, fake aliens. I already did a reading on that. Like, they want you to believe that everything's fake. So, New World Order. This doesn't have to be negative, okay? But it is what they're trying to do with the 2025. And I think this came in auto rates before. So, this can go either way. I do think that this is what they were trying to do, though. And there can be trauma from that. From them trying to make the New World Order, which is the 2025. So everything that's been going on has been part of that, and it's caused trauma. Okay, so in this instance, I'm going to take the card as more about what's going on now instead of like a positive New World Order, because I think with the trauma card after that, it's things that, it's causing us trauma right now. There's going to be something with Big Pharma. Now, this can be positive. Actually, I think there's going to be new drugs that are going to come out, and I will do an auto rate, and we'll see what else I get. But just giving you what the cards say, and I've been saying this in private readings, that there's going to be new drugs, Alzheimer's, cancer, what's the other one? It's right there, because they just told me Alzheimer's, and they just said cancer. I'm also hearing stem cells, Parkinson's, so autism. So those are the things I'm getting. There might be more things, but there's going to be advancements in technology and medical related things. And there may be some natural things that Big Pharma pushes back on. They're also, and this is fucking weird. I'm just going to say it. I'm getting a reference to a plane crash, and there might be specific people on board that relate, I hate to say that relate to medical things. Like some sort of specialist or something like that. I think this is kind of like, if we think about it, they're against the immigrants, they're against certain classes and things like that. So this is part of it. Government controlled media. So you're only seeing, like, of course, they're not going to sit there and show you, oh yeah, this is what really happened, and the victims didn't deserve it. No, they're going to cover their asses. They're going to cover their little soldiers. So everything's being controlled right now. Mind control. This is what Trump does. People are brainwashed. I hate to say it, but they are. So, the people that are smart, that see things for as they are, that aren't brainwashed, MAGA's brainwashed, unfortunately. And also, I think this has to go with the soldiers that they're putting out. Soldiers. I keep calling. That's remind me of foot soldiers. ICE. Liberation. So there may be some sort of plane. I did see planes in old visions. But liberation is a good thing. getting our liberties back. It may come with a fight, though. That's the thing, right? There's cover-up of corruption that's been happening. Egotism, we know who that is. Saying there's things that are top secret about money. Huh, interesting. Sorry, I'm kind of just like not pulling, I'm pulling different. So top secret money, there's communication about it, and a world leader. So that's pretty interesting. Communication over money that's top secret over a world leader. So I'm wondering if I think some of his financial records already came out, but I'm wondering if there's going to be communication that he had exchanging money or something with another world leader, and also his money. There's going to be an incoming message that's going to be explosive in some way. So there might be something that's put out that was an email, that was a text, something, some kind of message, or it doesn't have to necessarily be digital either, but just a message that's going to be explosive in some way. You know, we know he's going to be traveling for alleged work. Those are kind of dumb card. Oh, look, for his cult. I'm telling you, he has a cult that's brainwashed. This already came in. Other readings. So hopefully one day they get deprogrammed and out of the cult. Like I said, in other readings, I had visions of like underground people still worshiping him or still loving him, and you just can't, deprogram them, because I had even gotten like a gold statue at some point. But he's being cursed, you guys, by, witches right now. Just saying. It's coming anyways, so I don't really know. Sex rumors. There might be some more stuff coming out. The Epstein files, some more things coming out regarding him, surrounding him, but definitely sex rumors. Might be something with DNA. So again, more advancements in DNA. Okay, not just genetic genealogy, but some other ones that are going to be really good. Also, there's going to be a way to. Where are they showing me? They're showing me like splitting the DNA. I don't know what that would do. I don't know if that's able so you could test it, or if you split the DNA, like almost like you take the good DNA, separate the bad DNA for like medical stuff. So it's like good things for like crimes and things like that, the DNA, but then also some kind of medical advances with the DNA. Like both of those are kind of coming in. He's a liar. Eventually we're going to get freedom from that treason, though. Just saying. Trust your intuition, guys. Again, there might be some also, I think there's evidence on like flash drives and things like that. I'm telling you, he's got them buried out there at the coffin and probably somewhere else. So there might be a lot of stuff on a microchip. I'm also can take this as like an advancement in technology again. Legal proceedings. I think there's going to be impeachments when he's gone. I think that because everybody was involved in the stuff that's going on, people might bring articles of impeachment against them. That's why I'm thinking we're going to have a new regime eventually. It might take a while. There'll be legal proceedings regarding that. I think that Trump will have legal proceedings before he leaves this earth. It's all about greed. There's secrets. There's a secret. Unfortunately, this is what I was telling you about. I think there's like new nuclear weapons and stuff, but I'm unfortunate. I don't know where this is going to hit, but I've seen this. And I don't know if it's exactly nuclear. It might be another weapon, like some kind of energy weapon, but there could be something in regards to this. So it can also be symbolic for things can go like nuclear in a symbolic way. I'm kind of getting both with that. He's trapped. There's an investigation that's going on, and we know that Jack Smith is investigating, and other ones are, whoa, look at the REM pod. I mean, not the REM pod, the EMF. That's the first time it's done that tonight. So that was interesting. That came with the nuclear card. So things could go nuclear. Trying to see if let's do it again. Or it could be symbolic or literal. All right. So investigation. Trapped. He's gaslighting a lot of, like, there's a lot of gaslighting fucking going on. It's ridiculous. And there's going to be a natural disaster. So, I already talked about the earthquakes earlier. The different areas that need to watch about earthquakes. Again, Japan is a really bad one. I think it's going to eventually cease to exist. I hate to say that. I don't want to see those types of things. But the Ring of Fire is very active. I've been getting that for a long time. So again, California, all along the coast, basically, specifically San Diego, San Francisco, Alaska, all the places I mentioned. But I think there's going to be also heavy flooding somewhere because I'm getting that. But there might be a huge natural disaster that's kind of one of the worst ones that we've had in a while. I think it's going to have something to do with water. I don't know why I'm getting that, but I'm also seeing a reference to fire. So there might be really huge fires at some point, but there's going to be a really big natural disaster. I hate to say that. I don't know when. Of course, we can also say this as the Republican is natural disaster. Just saying. Okay, fine. He's the Antichrist. I'm just saying, literally, the Republican Antichrist. All right? I think we'll just end it with that. I don't know what this is about, but there could be a body double out there, deep fake some way. That's part of that. And there may be some more like ancient mysteries, things that come out, like things that we find. That I think that's another thing that's Pluto and Aquarius. So some sort of artifact or something like that we could find. Some kind of ancient mystery that's going to be discovered. This part with the cards. So embezzlement, and I'm thinking like the intuition and sixth sense is telling you to trust that, but also they're not going to show us certain cards because we already know. And the Great Reset, which is part of Pluto and Aquarius energy. Okay, put that at the front of that. While my speech is, put it back where the cards were. So also put this in the front of the cards. So I just wanted to try these timing cards. So stay positive about it within a month, which would align with the timing that I'm getting, and have faith. Okay. So again, you know, sacrifices are made so that people learn and grow and evolve, and people have to stand up to injustice. That's what this is about. It hurts. Growth hurts, but sometimes, unfortunately, it's what it takes for people to kind of wake up and see and change things. And so this will bring new laws, you know, new way of life, new evolvement, new changes in government, things like that. So again, think about the revolutions. This is the last time that we've had this. So again, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. You know, it's a lot. Hang in there and be kind to everybody. Hang in there and be kind to people. And I think that's about it. Just as I said before, his luck is running out. His health is running out. And I predicted in 2024 a public health event, possibly a heart attack, you know, stumbling back from the podium, clenching his chest. And I don't predict those types of things. I don't like to predict those types of things. I'm looking at it as the fall of the Antichrist. But if I get the information, I get the information. And I feel like I got it for a reason, just like by March. But again, it could happen in February, but before March. So something could happen. He could be in the hospital, or whatever. But by March. So that tells me like before March. But by March is what they told me, or what I said in the dream. And February 17th is kind of interesting astrologically. So those are days and times you want to keep an eye out for. Sorry, I'm giving me a call. And I think that's good. I hope that you've stuck with me for all of this. I will get this edited and get it out as soon as possible. I'm working on this for a few days. Please like, subscribe, comment in a nice way, please. And hang in there. Okay, this is part of the growing process. This is part of evolving. And sometimes growing pains are tough. Sometimes growing pains hurt. Sometimes people have to witness things with their own eyes to make changes, to stand up for what's right. So that's unfortunately what's going on right now. Just like in all the revolutions that we've ever had, it's taken sacrifice. That's why certain people choose to make those sacrifices, you know, hence Good and the nurse. I always space on his name. So, you know, that's part of it. We can't evolve and grow without sometimes falling first, just like in life. So, again, thank you for being here. Please hit the like button. Please engage. And please engage on my videos, because right now the algorithm is being a jerk again. And I have to find a way for my videos to take off so that I can continue doing them or something. So there's a lot of time and energy that goes into this. So thank you so much for your love and support. Until but his children will be thrown out of the kingdom.